The wind is the breath of God. And we have the Hebrew number 2022 in the Old Testament, but we've got the Greek number in the New Testament. When you see wind, it's 417 in Greek. And Jesus is in the business of marriage. So he wanted to marry the Hebrew and the Greek. It's important, I think, now I see it. Hebrew Old Testament, Greek New Testament. He wanted a number from the Old Testament, and he wanted a number from the New Testament. And this is the other missing puzzle piece, I believe, that concludes the story. The wind is 417. It means the air, the blow, the breath. Respire. Storm-like force. 416. I am blown with the wind, right? April 17th, April 16th. Keep that in the back of your head. So wind is also the breath of God. Now here's some Old Testament words. Here's all their numbers. There's lots of different numbers, but we're not really looking at the numbers. We're looking at the definition of these words. Speaketh. Some of the root words: blow upon, speak, a breeze, breath of air. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And he gave up the ghost on the cross. He speaketh, he spake. Spoken, talk, speak. It's an appoint. It's an appointed time, or I think it's just a point, but it's a promise. When God speaks, when he spoke, when he said things, it was a promise. Said, breathe. These are all associated with wind. When God speaks or when he blows air, it's his wind, it's his breath. It's almost like he's saying, it's almost like he's doing a promise here. 417, 416. Is that his promise? Blow hard, expire, give up, cause to lose life, wind, breath, anger, spirit. Okay, so now you get the idea here. Wind is 417. Now you know we have lots of stories in the Bible, tons and tons of stories where Passover and Mountain 2022, H 2022 is in the Old Testament with an escape plan. But let's even amplify this with the wind. Now we're not looking at the numbers in the Old Testament for wind or breath, but we're using the Greek number, where you're just marrying the two numbers together to find our pattern here. So again, I'm not even explaining the full story, but I'm just sort of telling you a story here. Okay, so he formed man in the beginning of time. Genesis 2:7, it says he breathed. He 417'd him into life. He breathed life. April 17th? Maybe. Noah. The story of the flood. Genesis chapter 7 and 8 primarily. The ark rested on the 2022 mountains. And he made a wind, a 417, to pass over. April 17th, 2022, Passover. Looks like he told us. Aaron and Moses. Aaron's the dude that represents Passover 100%. He took them out on Passover, and then he continually sacrificed animals to say that, hey, Jesus is going to be doing this one day. Exodus 12 through 14 is where most of the story is. But they brought him to the mountains. This was where Passover actually started, really. And how do they divide the waters? God sent a strong east wind. Elijah, he was taken up on a chariot in 2 Kings chapter 2. This represents 2022. With the wind. Yeah. Jesus in John chapter 6. Now there's the story is about feeding I think it's the 5,000. So there's a mountain reference. In 2022 it says the Passover was at hand. Philip was mentioned. He's the guy that got snatched in Acts. Also the church of the Church of Philadelphia. Philadelphia Phillies is a sports team. Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia Flyers. Barley is referenced in John 6. Barley is winnowed with the wind, which is connected to Passover. 2 fish. Look at Stellarium. The sun is in the rapture fish. The moon is in Virgo, right in the birth canal. When? 4:16, 4:17. Also, the word harpazo is in this chapter 2, 7:26. And so after he feeds the 5,000, he goes to the mountain to rest. He looks down at Peter, who is sinking in the storm. And what comes? What comes for Peter and rocks the boat? The 4:17. And it actually uses it now because we're in the New Testament. It actually says the 4:17 came, the wind. And what did Jesus do? He took him out of the water and he saved him from 4:17. Keep in mind, when Peter later on in Acts, I think it's chapter 12, he escapes prison during Passover. This is huge, John 6. Okay. So let's recap this story again with one extra puzzle piece. Jesus dies on a cross on a 2022 mount. That's the Hebrew number. He sheds his precious blood on the cross, pours his heart out, all the blood out of his heart, all the blood out of his water. He yells out Psalm 22 with his voice, with his breath. When he speaks things, he promises things. And he yells out Psalm 22. Our deliverance is in verse 4. I'm seeing a really great pattern here, biblically, that this cannot be an accident. The wind, the rock was split. Let's read another verse, another 4:16 verse. Song of Solomon's 4:16. Awake, O north wind, and come, thou south, blow upon my garden, that the spices thereof may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat his pleasant fruits. And you guys already know I did a video a while ago with lots of other 4:16s and 4:17 verses everywhere. I did another video confirming 2022 is judgment, and that 4 April looks to be the month of the escape. There's a song that I always have loved, and now I understand why. Now that I've actually dissected all these things, now I get it. So maybe I'll sing a bit of it for you, and you'll understand now. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time, with no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. I can see your heart. You bled and died on the cross. And everything you've made, every burning star, a signal of your grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, which is your voice, which is your breath. You don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and numbers follow the sound of your 417. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, living in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. If the stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, if the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all your praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. God of salvation, you chased down my heart through all of my failures and pride. On a hill which represents 2022, you created the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die on Passover. But as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I can find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly choose surrender, so will I. I can see your heart 8 billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind. 417, 416, a wind.